project titled "Does Calf Muscle Stretching Improve the Gait Speed of Institutionalized Older Adults?" This will be the content of our presentation. As we all know, Singapore is an aging society. Old age support ratio is on steady decline, as estimated figures goes up from 6 adults to 2 adults supporting one elderly by 2030. Statistics have shown that there are 27 nursing home beds per 1,000 elderly, compared to 41 beds in other countries. This led to an average waiting time for a place in a nursing home to be 60 days, with some cases that waited up to 13 months. On top of that, the ratio of physiotherapists to population is 1:7,500. Hence, it is essential to conduct research on Singapore's institutionalized older adults. In order to address these issues, we need to look into ways to improve their functional independence and decrease their need to turn to institutions like nursing home. We are also trying to find out whether or not self-directed strategies are feasible to introduce to institutionalized older adults. After reading up into different research articles, we realized that there is a high correlation between these factors and gait speed. Hence, we decided to look into gait speed. Gait speed generally decreased by the 6th decade. According to Rubin et al., a gait speed of less than 1 meter per second is considered clinically slow, and this signifies a higher risk of several factors like poorer health status and higher mortality rate. Because joint range of motion is modifiable through non-strenuous flexibility training, targeting it as an impairment related to altered gait function with aging is appealing. According to a Lemma article, the key difference between the gait speed of older and younger adults lies in the difference in hip extension and ankle dorsiflexion. 4 studies were found to focus on hip, 1 study was found to focus on both, and only 1 study on ankle dorsiflexion alone. Interestingly, out of all these studies, only 1 that focused on hip looked into institutionalized older adults. The 4 studies on hip had consensus that stretching improved hip extension, thereby led to an improvement in gait speed. For the study that did on both hip and ankle stretching, there was an increase in range of motion and gait speed, but the improvement in gait speed was not significant. Moreover, the study failed to attribute improvement to any individual joint. So, how much exactly is the ankle contributing? The 1 study that focused on ankle showed an improvement in both ankle dorsiflexion and gait speed in healthy older women after 8 weeks of calf stretching, but they did not mention the significance of their results. Ankle plays an important role in walking as seen from this graph. We require the most ankle dorsiflexion range in the mid and terminal stance. And during heel strike and swing phase, we need to have at least a neutral ankle. As muscles are considered to contribute the most to decrease ankle dorsiflexion range, we hope to use a simple and safe stretch targeting a small joint at the ankle as compared to the hip to improve the walking speed of institutionalized older adults. This is the first study, to the best of our knowledge, to look at institutionalized older adults, evaluating the impact of calf stretching on range of motion and gait speed. Previous studies were all done over 8 weeks. We postulate a longer duration to achieve a similar effect in institutionalized older adults. And this will be our hypothesis. As this is a pilot study, we use a single group pre-post test design to study this problem. 1 week before data collection, we read through the case notes of participants recruited and selected our sample group based on inclusion and exclusion criteria listed above. Out of the 80 participants recruited, only 8 fulfilled the criteria. Those who agreed signed the informed consent and PARQ was completed. Of the 8 participants recruited, there were 7 males and 1 female, with a mean age of 75.4 years old. They have been residing at the nursing home for a mean of 8 months, with social and functional factors cited as the reason for admission. There are a few instruments used. Firstly, a flexible electrogoniometer was used to measure the peak amount of ankle dorsiflexion range of motion. Secondly, a video camera was used to film one full gait cycle during each walking trials, and the results were analysed using silicon coach. Next, a stopwatch was used to measure the time taken to complete the 10-meter walk test, and the gait speed was calculated. A 10-meter walkway was set up as shown, with the video camera and wheelchair situated in place. All relevant equipments were calibrated. Following this, a pre-trial was conducted by the group. After that, a flexible electrogoniometer is circularly attached to the participants on these two landmarks, and the markers for 2D motion analysis were attached as shown. The baseline angle passive range of motion was taken using the flexible electrogoniometer. Following this, the participant was asked to walk at a comfortable speed and the time was taken. Active ankle dorsiflexion and gait speed was recorded, and this was repeated 3 times. Our intervention involved, firstly, instruction for participants to conduct the soleus and gastroid stretch for 4 reps of 60 seconds hold, 3 times a day for 12 weeks. Exercise sheet, poster, and logbook were also given. Weekly visits were done to check on their logbook documentation and technique of stretching. We also tried to reinforce compliance during each visit. During the study, one participant dropped out as he was discharged. Immediately after 12 weeks, procedures were repeated to gather the outcome variables as shown here. As for data analysis, due to the small sample size, non-parametric tests were used and the p-value was set at 0.05. And now I'll pass the time over to Kay.
Thank you, Yi. For our results, a 38.5% improvement in gait speed was observed. There was a significant improvement of 106% in active ankle dorsiflexion range during ambulation. And also, a significant improvement of 107% in passive ankle dorsiflexion range of motion. We also found positive correlationship between various variables like passive and active ankle dorsiflexion, gait speed, and compliance rate. Following this, I'll lead everyone to our discussion. Majority of studies indicate that stretching over a period of time will naturally increase the passive muscle length. Similar findings were noted in our result. There was not only an improvement in passive ankle dorsiflexion, there was also an improvement in active ankle dorsiflexion. According to our data analysis, there is a positive correlation between passive and active ankle dorsiflexion. As hypothesized, we found a significant improvement in active ankle dorsiflexion range of motion during gait. This would allow more available range for dorsiflexion during mid and terminal stance, therefore allowing better transitions between the phases of gait. This is reflected in our data of an improved gait speed. We found that there is a positive correlation between active ankle dorsiflexion and gait speed of our institutionalized older adults. The strength of our study includes the use of self-reporting logbooks. Post-intervention, logbooks were reviewed and analyzed. The relationship between the adherence level of the subject and active ankle dorsiflexion was also found to be positive. I will now touch on 2 studies closest to our study setup. The finding of our study was consistent with Gutjaw 6 study, which also demonstrated an increase in ankle dorsiflexion and a shortened time of 10-meter walk test. This is their protocol, and this is done on community-dwelling older women. Christiansen in 2008 similarly conducted a hip and ankle stretching intervention with intensity stated above. This study also showed an improvement in hip and ankle joint range and gait speed of their community-dwelling older adults. Compared to the 2 studies, stretch intensity used were different from our study. The period of intervention was different, and subjects involved in our study was institutionalized older adults. On top of this, the strength of our study, which is the use of compliance strategies like logbooks, may explain the differences in the degree of improvement between our results and their results. Our study result adds on to the current pool of researchers by establishing that there is a positive association between calf stretching and gait speed. Although we did not detect a statistically significant improvement in gait speed as hypothesized, this finding was not surprising given our small sample size. However, each participant's improvement in gait speed was more than 0.1 meter per second, and according to Pereira in 2006, this improvement is considered as clinically significant. Moving on to our limitations. Even though calibration was done and walkway was marked, there is still a possible parallax error when we use the 2D motion analysis. Validity of our results can be improved if we use 3D motion analysis instead. Next, weekly visits were made to provide guidance to correct their stretching technique if it's incorrect. Exercise sheet was also given, but there is still a chance that the subjects might revert to incorrect stretching technique when unsupervised. Volunteers can be recruited to supervise each stretching session. Even though measures were in place to reinforce compliance, there is a possibility of non-compliance and false reporting. With volunteers, we can get them to do the logbook recording instead. And although participants are not allowed to walk freely other than going to the toilet, there is still a chance of differing activity level which may affect the results. Selection criteria can include physical activity scale to compare older adults with similar activity level. It will also be beneficial if we are able to document their daily activities. Despite all these limitations, the result has clinical implication for institutionalized older adults. The improvement in gait speed can translate into positive clinical outcomes as previously mentioned, like increasing functional independence and decreasing needs for nursing home. The exercise regime used for our study may be introduced as a daily exercise for institutionalized older adults. In conclusion, I would like to summarize our presentation. Joint ankle joint motion is a modifiable impairment that can be effectively targeted for institutionalized older adults. According to our results, by introducing a simple self-directed calf stretch with current intensity for 12 weeks, an improvement in gait speed and ankle joint range of motion was observed. With all this being said, a simple calf stretching regime of stated intensity can be a viable alternative in improving gait speed and hence the functional independence. With improvements observed, it will be worthwhile for future researchers to look into this area and facilitate the incorporation of a simple calf stretching exercise to many more institutions. On behalf of my group, we would like to give special thanks to Mr. Kahan and all the staff from Econs Home for making this project possible. I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you.